Good day everyone, I am Princess Maybe Kiamko. I'll be discussing about the environmental impact assessment. So first, let us know about environmental impact assessment. So environmental impact assessment or EIA is a process used to evaluate the potential environmental effects of a proposed project before approval. It also ensures that environmental factors are considered in decision making. It helps to minimize negative impacts on ecosystems and communities. It also promotes sustainable development by integrating environmental concerns into project planning and policy making. It encourages transparency and public participation in assessing the ecological, social, and economic impacts of development projects. So now let's move on to the importance of EIA. So there are four importance of EIA. The first one is that reduces conflicts between developers and communities. So in this first importance is the EIA includes public participation, allowing affected communities to voice their concerns and ensuring that projects align with social and environmental priorities, reducing legal disputes and opposition. So the second one is protects natural resources and biodiversity. So EIA helps in assessing the impact of proposed project on ecosystems, ensuring that natural habitats and wildlife are preserved. This contributes to the conservation of biodiversity and sustainable resources management. The third one helps prevent environmental degradation. So by identifying potential environmental risk early in the planning process, EIA enables mitigation strategies to reduce pollution, deforestation, and other harmful environmental effects. And the last one, it encourages responsible decision making. So AIA provides scientific data and expert analysis that guide policymakers, businesses, and stakeholders in making informed decisions that balance economic growth with environmental sustainability. So let's move on for our next slide, which is the steps in the EIA process. So the first steps in EIA process is the screening. It is the first key decision of the EIA process of deciding on whether an EIA is required. So it also determined by the size and may be based on site-specific information. This initial step determines whether a project requires a full EIA based on its type of size and potential environmental risk. It ensures that resources are allocated efficiently to assess projects with significant environmental concerns. The second step is the scoping. Identifies key environmental concerns. Defines the scope of the assessment, determining which environmental factors should be studied in detail. Also includes consultation with stakeholders. So for this one, it defines the extent and focus of the EIA. It identifies key environmental concerns, determines which aspects need detailed analysis, and sets the boundaries of the study. Scoping helps to prevent unnecessary assessments while ensuring that all critical issues are considered. So the next one is the impact assessment and mitigation. Design and execution of measures to reduce, mitigate, or minimize the negative impacts of a project, work, or activity on a human or natural environments. Can restore one or more environmental components to pre-impact quality. It is also the avoidance, elimination, reduction, or control of adverse effects of a project. So the next step is the review and decision making. Authorities evaluate the report and approve or reject the project. Regulatory bodies review the EIA report to determine whether the project meets environmental standards and should proceed. So regulatory authorities assess the EIA report to determine if the project should proceed. They evaluate its completeness, credibility, and effectiveness of proposed mitigation measures. The next step is the compliance and monitoring. Also refer to environmental management plan. Identifies measures to mitigate and compensate significant environmental impacts. It also ensures mitigation measures are implemented. It establishes system producers for this proposed, monitors the effectiveness of mitigation measures, also takes action when unforeseen impacts occur. So for the last step of EIA is the auditing. Carry out an environmental audit sometime after completion of the project or implementation of a program. Should include an analysis of the technical, procedural, and decision-making aspects of the EIA. It determines whether recommendations and requirements made by the earlier EIA steps were incorporated successfully into project implementation. So now, let's proceed to the challenges in EIA implementation. So the first one is the lack of technical expertise. Many countries, especially developing ones, lack skilled professionals to conduct proper EIA assessments. This results in inaccurate reports, poor analysis, and weak mitigation plans that fail to address potential environmental risk effectively. So the next one is the insufficient public awareness and participation. Public engagement is often limited due to a lack of awareness, accessibility to information, or transparency issues. The next challenge is the political and economic influence. Large-scale developments often face political and economic pressures that can lead to the bypassing of environmental regulations. Next is the weak enforcement of EIA regulations. Some governments lack the political will or resources to enforce EIA requirements effectively. This leads to unchecked environmental violations where companies proceed the projects without fully implementing required mitigation measures. So the next one is the inadequate funding and resources. Conducting comprehensive EIAs requires significant financial investments, trained personnel, and technical equipment. Limited funding results in incomplete studies, rushed assessments, and inadequate mitigation measures that fail to address long-term environmental impacts. The last challenge is the conflicting interest among stakeholders. EIA implementation involves various stakeholders, including government agencies, businesses, environmental groups, and local communities. Conflicting priorities between economic growth and environmental protection can lead to disputes, making it challenging to reach decisions that balance sustainability with development. So the last part for this reporting is the case study sample, which is the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant or the BNPP. It was built in the 1970s under the Marcos administration as a response to the global energy crisis. It located in Morong, Bataan. The plant was designed to provide an alternative energy source and reduce dependence on fossil fuels. However, it faced strong opposition due to concerns about seismic activity in the region, potential radiation hazards, and environmental risk. Although the plant was completed in 1984, it was never activated due to political changes following the People Power Revolution and heightened public resistance. Today, debates on whether to rehabilitate BNPP persist, highlighting the importance of thorough environmental impact assessments, public consultation, and transparent decision-making in large-scale infrastructure projects. Despite remaining non-operational, the BNPP serves as a reminder of the challenges of balancing energy security with environmental and public safety concerns. So that's all for the environmental impact assessment topic.